Talk about manure habits, the new regulations. I'm just going to ask you, you don't have to raise your hand, I'm just asking a question. Do you have a manure plan written for your farms? Okay, if you're saying yes, great. If you're saying no, it's not too late, we need to get it. But what I wanted to bring the point up is it's a requirement now. You must have one. Any operation that produces manure, excluding dog and cat. Okay, so people that have maybe 5 dogs in their backyard don't necessarily have to have a manure plan, but even the chickens that are out in the backyard now as pets, or the potbelly pig, or the horse, or whatever, all have to have it. So we're going to look today at some regulations that are being encouraged to do, and what things we need to do to help us be able to do those regulations. Please feel free. My name is Helene McKernan. I work at Penn State. Feel free to stop me anytime with questions, okay? So the main reason people ask me, well, why do we have to have regulations? If you're like me, regulations for everything, it seems like, and it sometimes can get mind-boggling what to do. But the one thing that we all, as horse people or interested or have livestock, have to remember that we do agree we want clean water. And as our generations are growing and our country's getting larger and larger, water's getting less and less clean. And I know when I was a youth, a young child, there was no such thing as bottled water. If you wanted what they called spring water, you drove to a spring with an old milk jug, and they were glass at the time, and filled it and took it home. Nowadays, people are buying, even though they have city water, are buying bottled water. It's become like a soda to them or a drink. And I know that my husband often says to me, he works for an environmental group, he said if only they knew how much of that spring water those people that are going to get it out of the side of the mountain are getting contaminated water where the animals are up above it making messes or dying or whatever. It's not the best, So I think we all agree we need clean water. Okay, the biggest water pollutant in Pennsylvania in volume is the sediment that's in the water. And we all know that if you lived last September when all the rains we had recently and the creeks and the streams turned chocolate brown, we know there's sediment in there and it's flowing somewhere. You see an example over on the right, and I'll see if I can get my pointer to work here so I know where I am. This is just an average nice field and had a bunch of water, a couple inches came down in a very short amount of time, and it now has some ponding and so on. I don't know if you can see here, there's a current, and that's going somewhere, and it's taken everything, here's my thing, everything that's there, the dirt's going with it, and it's a big issue. The nutrients that are inside this water that's going, the sediment, there's natural nutrients in there, but there's also things such as manure and rotting crops, vegetation that's rotting, that contributes to nutrients going into the fields. This is a pond. You can see a little bit of it. Whenever you go by, and I'm sure all of you have seen ponds like this, and you go, oh, yuck, it's really green and algae. And then you might go by a pond that's very clear, but it's almost like it's not a greenish blue, it's almost like blue. Have you ever seen any of those? They're actually starting to put some oxygen into the ponds, because what is happening, the more and more you see this, it means that there's too many nutrients in it, and they are taking away the oxygen, and the oxygen is leaving, and then a lot of the animals cannot survive. So it's a big problem. Over in this picture, we're showing out on the farm, it's kind of a joke, but that's a manure pile that should be covered, so it doesn't end up flowing into this. I'm going to talk a little bit today as an example of the Chesapeake Bay. Do you people all live in the Chesapeake Bay area? You can look at your counties. I'll try to find us. We're right around in here. Hold still. Okay, so if you're in this part of the state, you're in the Allegheny or the Ohio. Okay, if you're over in this part of the state, you're in the Delaware watershed. So because we're here today, I'm just pointing this one out, and they have some main rivers, and they flow down into what we call the Chesapeake Bay. And all of our regulations are pretty much mandated or being enacted because of the pollution in this area going into our watershed bays, whether it be the Mississippi flowing down into New Orleans, whether it's Delaware going out into the Atlantic, or whether it's going into the Chesapeake and the Atlantic. So agencies are implementing much firmer, stronger rules and regulations. Up to this point, the poultry, swine, livestock has always had regulations that they follow. Of course, people have been like, yeah, you don't have to follow it. You know, we've been kind of left off the hook. Not anymore. We're part of the problem, and we're part of the issues. So they're coming up with some regulations, and these groups, Conservation District, Department of Environmental Protection, which we call DEP, EPA, which is the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, and NRCS, which is your Natural Resources Conservation Service, are all working together. Now, the only one in the state of Pennsylvania that is regulating is DEP. Yet, DEP is regulated by some federals, which we also follow in Pennsylvania, from EPA. NRCS and the conservation districts are there usually to help you. They're not really regulators going out there and trying to get money off of people or fine people or whatever. They do have some rules they have regulating, but mainly it's EPA and DEP. They're targeting equine, which is a large number of high-density horse operations in all states. When I say this to people, they think, oh, you're talking about that farm down the road that has 150 horses on it, right? It's beautiful and huge. I said, no, this is talking about the person has 1 acre behind their house, a barn has 4 horses on it. That's high density on low acreage. We have more problems from those than the ones that are 100 acres big. They have the land to regulate all those horses and to keep them pretty manageable, but it's our backyard farmers, our backyard livestock, people even having a cow and growing a cow for beef or whatever on a suburb. It's happening. Chickens are getting to be a very popular pet. So these people have some issues that they need to look at. So don't get confused that this means the big horse farms. There are big horse farms, but it's not the problem. This slide is a little confusing, and so it used to come up in layers, but I thought it's just easier to look at the whole thing, and we'll break it down. Who has to be regulated? All animal operations. Anyone that makes or utilizes manure. So if you have that orchard down the road where they maybe grow fruits, they don't have an animal on their grounds, but they bring in fertilizer maybe from you or another farmer, they have to have a manure plan too, because they're utilizing the manure. So the people that produce it, the animals that produce it, we have to have a plan, and so does those that use it. It's regulated by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection under the Pennsylvania Clean Streams Law. Then we move into a second one, which is called Concentrated Animal Operations. CAFOs, usually what we hear are KOs. And KOs used to be, if you had maybe, you could get away with having a couple acres and maybe 5 horses, and it didn't matter. Until about 2 years ago, and they started putting a horse equivalent body weight on what you could have land-wise. So there's an equation we're going to get into, but right now, 5 horses on 2 acres is not legal, and it turns you in, well, it's legal, but it turns you into what's called a KO, which means you have to have additional regulations that you have to implement. So if we look at this, greater than 2 animal equivalent units per acre. A horse's average around 1,000. So if you have 2 acres and your house sits on one of it, and the acre is the barn and so on, you're overstocked. Now if you had a mini, 2 minis, and they weigh together 400, and they're on that 1 acre, you're okay. So you have to kind of look at what you have, what they weigh. It's not the horse head anymore, it's the weight of the horses, and we tabulate it that way. If you're like me, you might not have a scale big enough in your area to weigh your horses, so you estimate. Okay, or you can buy a weight tape that gives you an estimate of what they would be. This is regulated by the Pennsylvania State Conservation Commission, and 8 or more automatically kind of get you into this animal weight concentrated area. The last one down is the concentrated animal feeding operations, CAFOs. We think of these when we go by and we see those hog farms, or those sheep farms, or the poultry farms with row after row after row of barns, and we know there's thousands of animals there. So they're usually, or used to be, the very big operations. There's very few. I know I live in Clinton County, and I could be wrong, I think we have 1 CAFO in the whole county. So most of us horse owners are not going to fit into this unless possibly we're a racetrack or a place that has a huge amount of horses there. Because if you look, you have to have 1,000 of the animal units. So that means you have 1,000 horses that weigh 1,000 pounds. And not many of us have that. And that is regulated also by DP and also over EPA. So we're going to get into breaking down a little bit better. And this right here is the state regulations. And I'm sorry the lighting isn't real good. Animal operations is AO. They must have a manure management plan. Everyone. Anyone that produces or uses the manure has to have a manure management plan. An animal operation with an animal concentrated area will have to have a manure management plan and a conservation erosion and sediment control plan. That is going to be those backyard horses kept on very limited acres. Okay, when you're over the animal operation limit. Then we have our concentrated animals, the KOs, where there's over 8 animal units or 2,000 pounds per acre. They will also have to have these 2 and a nutrient management plan and the erosion plan. So as you can see, most people are only going to need a manure management plan, but there will be cases they're going to need a little bit more. Now we get into our federal government, which usually deals with the CAFOs, and that's your concentrated animal feeding operations, and they must have a nutrient management plan, a conservation plan, and a CAFO permit. Now when we get into the difference of this, right now is when most people raise their hands. You guys are well educated, didn't bombard me. The question will be, do we have to write our own? Does somebody write it for us? What do we do? Okay, if you are a small operation and you're up in that very first one, you have the privilege of being able to write your own plan. You don't have to hire someone to do it. But when you move down into these areas, you're going to have a certified manure management plan writer. Some people are finding that it's not as easy to do. Farmers understand terminology of applying rates to manure. They've done it all their life. As horse owners, we put it in a pile over behind the barn, and we don't know what we got, and so we're kind of lost. So I'm finding that a lot of people are asking, where do I find a certain, I'd rather pay someone $100 and get it over and done with than try to do it myself. So hopefully later on I'm going to give you a little bit of education on where you could go with that. Act 38 regulatory requirements, who's regulated, those are the concentrated. Now I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Does anyone sitting here have a CAFO or a KO? Okay. Basically, small acreage with a few horses or whatever. Do any of you think you might have over the limit low for your acreage? Okay, good. You think you might, possibly. Yeah. All right. So these are the examples. If you have 10 horses on 10 acres, are you a KO? Okay, there'll be a thing we're going to see in a minute. I just want you to think about this. Would I be? 10 years ago, you'd say, no, I'm not, fine. Will we today? 10 horses on 4 acres. You're probably saying, they probably need it, right? Getting a little bit more positive. 4 horses on 1 acre, we're probably definitely saying, I bet they're in big trouble, okay? So we're going to look at these, and this is where I talked about, if you have to fall under these Act 38 hours, you will have to have a plan developer do it for you. But I'm not going to, since all of you are sitting here and telling me you don't, I'm not going to worry about it too much. Horse CAFOs had until 10/108 to apply. That's been like 4 years, and people are still just finding out about it. So we're going to get right down to the nitty-gritty. The manure management plan. It's needed for any farm, like I said, that produces manure. The manure management plan guidance manual is available on the DEP website. So, a few weeks ago, I apologized because I was going to have a stack here so everyone could take one, but I unfortunately had a little accident and broke my arm, so I couldn't get down to pick them up. They're down in Harrisburg, 500 of them, and I didn't want them to ship them, but this is what they look like. So on the back, I put their website and what I did for you, and I'm going to give it to you right now. Just take it, pass around. If you'll give me the extras so we can hand them out another one. And I'll just take one of them out so I'm talking. Okay, I took the little pamphlet that they made that they're handing out a little bit about this, and I typed on the back the website and taped it on. And you go on there, you can print off your own manual. Okay, just will have a pretty yellow cover on the front. So that's what that is on the back. And this is what we're going to go over. They have in the manual, and I'm going to pass this around. You can just kind of, don't memorize, it's a lot there. But you can just kind of open up and see it. They divided it into sections. And the first part is kind of a teach you of what you need. You get into the middle, and there's a sample worksheet that they did that actually shows you samples of what a fake farm. And then the back end of it will actually be what you can write in. I advise that people go in, and if you know how to print off the pages for the worksheet, is just print off the one you're going to fill in and do that as the rough one. Because if you're like me, we make lots of mistakes. And then you can transpose it into the good one. You can do it online too. I had trouble doing it, but I've heard that you can find it where it's in a rewritable form online. But I found out that it just kept skipping the jumping around, and it was easier to print it off and do it manual. The documents on how you will protect surface and groundwater is included in that, and it's got to be a written plan. It includes your farm map. Now, I've had people say, "Oh no, do I have to go hire someone out there to aerial, plot my land?" Or no, you can get a Google map of your property, and then you can blow it up a little as big as you can get it. 10 inch by 12 inch on a piece of paper. Draw your fence lines, mark your house. If it's back before you had maybe a barn here or a barn there. But it will teach you in that manual where to mark the things. Your manure pile, where the streams are, super important. How much the distance is. You might have to get out there and physically walk. There is a Google map that's a little bit more advanced that will actually have a line you can draw and gives you the distance in feet from the creek to your house and everything, but most of us don't have access to that or haven't, the ability to do that. Your conservation office can do it for you, and they will do it free for you. They will make your map for you and it can give you the dimensions of your property. And what's really nice about this program, you can actually go around your fence line, draw it in, and it'll tell you how many acres is in it. It's kind of cool. Okay, and then what you do as a farmer is you take this plan after you get done, you put it in a folder, and you put it in your filing cabinet or your desk in a safe place, and that's all you have to do. And then if a regulator would come on the land and they would, first question they might have, and the reason why they might come is probably someone's complaint. My neighbor wasn't nice to my kid the other day, so their horses stink. And I'm going to complain about it. It's usually people fighting, or there's neighborhood conflict. Sometimes it's just necessary. There's people out there that we know are not doing things right and deserve to be reported or whatever. So the regulator's going to come to your door and he knocks on it. And the first question, he'll introduce himself, show credentials, always has to see credentials. If they don't have it, you don't have to do anything. But if they show it, and the first question they'll ask, after they have established you're the correct people, is do you have a manure management plan? Okay, if you say no, they're not going to oh my gosh, you've got to come with me and handcuff you and all that. They're not going to do that. But what they will do is you probably are going to end up with being really looked at closely and could end up with some fines. Okay, or warnings, at least like 30-day compliances or something like that. You whip out that sheet right there, even if you wrote it yourself and it's maybe not 100% correct, but you did the best you could, they're going to work with you. That takes away the compliance and the worrying about the fines and so on. They're going to work with you because you've made the effort to try to do it right. So it's so important to have that on file somewhere. This just kind of agrees, and if you're passing that around so everybody can take a peek at it, those are the things that are on it, worksheets, show some maps, samples, and so on. Okay, we broke this down. Again, it's kind of hard for you to see. Over on the right, where's my little pointer? Come on, there he is. Up there it says Act 38. That's that Extreme Clean Act we're talking about. These things come down. This is the DEP, what they're going to regulate, and some of them are by boat. So, if this is written by the farmer, if you have to fall under that regulation, it's got to be by a planner. There may be no cost to the farmer other than your paper and ink to print it off. This will vary by the operator, whatever he wants to charge. The last I talked to some people, it's usually around $100. Independent people writing it for you. Who needs one? The farms with livestock and/or that apply manure. Okay, and these are the concentrated ones, the CAFOs. Regulates. All of these are by both. Animal concentration areas, manure storage, pasture, and mechanical manure application. Do you know what I mean by mechanical? That means you put it on by hand, you go out with the shovel and just biff it over the fence. That's mechanical. Your arm was mechanical with the shovel. It's not mechanical when it comes out the back end of the animal. So any tractor that is spreading it, wheelbarrow dumping, that's considered mechanical. The agencies are regulated by DEP and the conservation districts. This is regulated by SCC, which is another state conservation commission, and the conservation district. So the conservation districts are regulators, but usually they work with you first. You go to them and get the permit. If you're building, let's say you're building a house and you're crossing a stream and you have to put a driveway in, you go get a permit from them and work with it. If they issue the permit to you and you have polluted downstream, they're going to come and help you with it. They're not like going to jump all over you. If you don't get the permit to start with and you make a mess of your neighbor's property downstream, then you will probably pay a fine or have someone come in and talk to you. Is there any approval needed? No. In other words, when you write that plan and stick it in your filing cabinet, do you have to get someone to okay it or approve it or give you an A+ or a C or whatever? No, it's yours. You did it. You tried the best. If you have a certified one, it's sent into the Conservation District Board. They look at it. They approve it. If they deny it, then you go back to your certified planner and say it wasn't accepted, and the certified planner has to do it some more. Liability protection, there's none claimed. Okay? So in other words, if you don't have it by a certified person, it's not filed with the state commission, there is no liability for you that there possibly could be a lawsuit at any time on someone that says you're polluting your manure down on their house or their fields. So you have to understand that it's not going to protect you from any liability on your property. That's what you hopefully have homeowners for, okay, to cover you. But if you went through the certified planner and you had it approved by the conservation district, there's a limited liability for civil claims. So they do have more of a court case if they were being accused of something. Oh my, where do I start and how do I get help? Well, these are some pictures, and I don't think I have to tell any of you. We have a really nice looking pasture here being mowed a little bit to maintain the weeds off the fence. Divided, nice wooden fence, which I'd give an eye and a tooth to have around my place, but really nice place. And then we look over here. They have a tape, which is a very suitable and acceptable electric fence, but look at this. Okay, they've done something wrong. They're overstocked, or they've overgrazed, or they are on too steep a hill, and they have too much runoff, or they probably have horses like mine that like to do these sliding stops going down the hill until they make ruts, and then you've got issues. So they definitely have some problems here. we have with Penn State, the team that I'm involved with, we have been going around the state. We've been concentrating in the southeastern part of the state with doing some workshops and so on. I just wanted to familiarize you with it, that if you want to contact any of us, please do so. You should be able to just Google search equine teen at Penn State, and it should come up that you could find our information if you have questions. But I know this fall we're going to be concentrating on the western part of the state, trying to get out to some other counties. I know we're starting in Center County with doing one with Center Clinton, like Homing Clearfield type, trying to offer some multi-county education where you would come for, there's 2 different options, 4 nights over a 4-week period, or it could be a 2-period workshop, maybe over 2 Saturdays or whatever, and some are just having a 1-day workshop where we actually will teach you how to maintain a pasture, go over the regulations, teach you about toxic plant seeding, all sorts of financial help that's out there to help horse people get started with things. And what I mean by that is some of the stream fencing that you see that the farmers have been put in to keep their livestock out of the farms or out of the water. They can get funding to supply that. Perimeter fencing can be supplied by the farmers. This is the first 2 years, started last year, and this is the first full year that horses are now included in eligibility to get some of this. So that's NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation District. In Center County, I'm not sure where yours is, but there's an office somewhere in your county, and there's free help out there. Some of it's you pay half and they'll pay half, but they're doing sacrifice lots, stream fencing, all sorts of neat stuff. So look into it. You might, it's a waiting list, but might be worth waiting for. Those are some of the brochures. So if you ever see a brochure that looks something like that, it's probably from us. And this is the things we talk about during our training is the pasture management, weed management, toxic plants, soil fertility and health, and storing, composting, and using manure. And the big thing is at the end, we help you write your plan. So some people have found that useful. We have some farm trials. We're always looking for people that are interested. Contact us if you think that your farm might be a great place for us to come and do a field trial on. We're looking for farms to take people, because there's nothing more beneficial than you say, I have toxic weeds, do I have bad stuff in my pasture? And you bring it into me, and by the time it travels in the car and gets to me, I'm sorry, I can't tell if it's a dandelion or it's just wilted so badly. So it's really nice to walk to the farms and search them and look for things and point them out. And I'll get into that if you remind me in just a few minutes. Some agencies that can help you. Conservation District, DEP. I think you'll find DEP will give you information, but they're not going to come and help you. They're just understaffed because we know the position of Pennsylvania, what's happened to the government things. They don't have the clientele to help you. But your conservation, Penn State, your natural resource, the other 3, they have people there that are solely trained to help you do this, and it's their job to help you. And they don't charge. They will help you free, make your plans, not write it for you, but help you and guide you and give you ideas and suggestions. I'm going to leave this up while I do some other, talking. But those are the 4 people. I know it's kind of small, but I'm Helene McKernan. Donna Folk will actually be talking, I think, tomorrow. She has an excellent one on pasture management, and weeds and grasses and so on. She's like the guru of grasses. She's amazing. Dr. Swinker was to be doing this one today. I'm filling in for her. She's out at a conference in Vermont, doesn't get back till tonight, but feel free to contact her. And Sarah Crook is actually on our team, and she helps us, pretty much does what I do, works and fills in, and we keep the 2 hierarchies going so they don't forget where they're supposed to go. But the thing with Sarah, she does have a license. She is a certified writer, so she can really give the good details for it.